Hello again. Some of you seems to be anxious to know what is going to happen with Brownie's fish smell disguise. So let's get going and not wait anymore. Here is chapter 2 of Demon Soul. Brownie was running. It was seems to be a dark corridor in some sort of cavern. She was barefoot and still wearing her pajamas. The cold on her skin made her shiver. She could feel the wet floor under her feet. She didn't know why she was running. She just knew she had to. That she couldn't stop now, and that she had to escape something very frightening. She arrived in a big room, lit by candles, and her eyes took a bit of time to adapt to the sudden brightness. The walls were covered with shelves where were stored some kind of ghost light twinkling weakly. Souls. She tried to find one desperately. She needed only one of them. As much as she pitied the others, she looked for it again and again, but a strident scream burst her eardrum, and deep inside her she could hear the voice. "Please, please, help me! Don't leave me!" She turned around just to see the purple dancing light vanishing in some green fire. She tried to reach it, but woke up suddenly in cold sweat, breathing heavily. Yu's soul was calling for her once more. She sat in her bed, trying to put herself back together. This time she was coming for it. She looked at the alarm clock. It was only 6 a.m. and still night outside. She lied on once more, looking at the ceiling. In few hours she will be heading to the dark path. The sooner she gets there, the less chance she would have to meet anything nasty or undesirable. She had the list of things needed turning in her head. She knew everything, but after so many failures during the past few weeks, she couldn't help wondering if that was ever going to be enough. The house was so quiet at this time of the day. Everybody was still sleeping or still out hunting. She got up and had better get ready with the makeup and weird smell already, before the others woke up. She didn't want to let them know that she was about to do something so foolish and dangerous. "Don't you come here alone," you had said, but it was too late. Sometimes you need to do things you were not supposed to do. She knew from the day she fell in love with him that this relationship was already dangerous by itself. Very dark, round eyes, deep purple lips, messy hair, dressed all in black. When she looked at herself in the mirror, she could have thought she was looking at someone else. Would that be enough for the demons not recognizing her as a human? With the fish smell, she probably stood a chance. She went down to the kitchen, got some bread out of the cupboard and some jam for breakfast, and started to make herself a cup of tea. While pressing the blade of the knife on the bread, she paused and sighed. That was no need. Her stomach wouldn't let her eat anything now. She wasn't in a mood for any food. She left the knife on the table. Someone less stressed out would probably use it later this morning. She started to pour herself some tea. Dylan flew through the window. "Hey, just in time before sunrise." He looked at her surprised. "Who are you?" She turned around and walked to the window with her cup of tea, closed it and pulled the curtain. "Did you ever learn about doors?" She pointed out at the kitchen door on the opposite side of the room. "Normal people walk through them when they come back home. That avoids surprises." She looked at him. Some blood had leaked from the corner of his mouth and dried there. He was looking dumbfounded. "You have blood on your face. You'd better wash it before scaring the girls again." Dylan suddenly recovered from his voice from the surprise. "What is happening to you?" He was looking at her from head to feet, from feet to head. "Nothing, really." She walked to the fridge, looking for one of the fishes the boy had brought back from their angling trip 2 days before, and made it disappear in her shoulder-strap bag. "I'm just going shopping." "Shopping? Like that? With a fish?" Dylan wiped the blood on his face with the first towel he had found, opened big eyes. "Where exactly are you going?" "Well, if anybody asks, you'll say you don't know." Dylan started to feel the danger. Not that he really cared, of course. His vampire heart had dried a long time ago, but he didn't like to be left out of things that could turn out to be exciting. "Are you taking someone with you?" "Do I look like I am?" Brownie took a sip of her tea. It was strangely bitter tasting this morning. She had to calm her nerve before going, and Dylan was always the best person for that. She wouldn't have to worry about hurting his feelings for answering dryly. Dylan smirked and put his hand in his deep coat pocket, looking for something wrapped in a blue handkerchief stained with blood, and threw it at Brownie. "Catch!" He walked to the doors and suddenly turned around. "That'll be more efficient than the fish. I found it tonight. Brought it back for Viorel, but it looks like you needed more. At least for now." "I want it back. As soon as you're here. I advise you to cut the fish into pieces too, and hide some bit everywhere, you never know." He left the room without leaving Brownie a chance to answer. Brownie unwrapped the handkerchief slowly, expecting to find something even more disgusting than a dead fish, but it wasn't the case. What she found was looking like a sort of medallion with 2 crosses and a 5-inch star in the middle. Where had Dylan found it? What did he want to do with it? Or why he had given it to her would probably stay a mystery. She dug it in her pocket and left without finishing her tea. The city center was about a 40-minute walk from here. Brownie was glad to have woken up so early and to have met nobody on the way. Even if her disguise was safer, she still felt a bit ridiculous walking down the street looking like a zombie and smelling like a fish. The fish smell was probably the worst. It was barely bearable for her already, but at least it made her feel safe. She arrived in the main street and started to look for the dark path. It was supposed to be here somewhere. She had probably passed it several times in her life before, but she never really noticed it, at least not until she had to walk in. Here it was very narrow and very dark, even darker than she remembered. For a second she wished to have someone with her, but this wasn't time for self-pity. As she walked down the path, 2 drunken demons walked out of a bar, half fighting, just in front of her. She jumped slightly backward, but quickly resisted the temptation to run. One was red-haired, not naturally red-haired, but his dirty hair had been dyed with a very flashy red color, and a tattoo was printed on his face and running down his neck. His long coat covered with mud was trailing on the ground. His companion was a lot smaller, with dark green wings agitating in his back and piercing yellow eyes. Brownie put her head down and walked past them. She was attempting to walk like a demon without really having an exact idea of what it actually meant. When she arrived near them, they started to shoot at each other and complain about the smell, but apparently didn't notice it was coming from her. As they started flying away, she breathed deeply to calm herself down, her back to the wall. Her heart was racing. The shop was only a few meters away. She swallowed hard and started walking again. Few other demons and dark creatures were going out of the shop around. She kept her head down, even if not looking at them wasn't going to make them go away. She heard some complain about the smell, but again nobody seemed to notice it was coming from her. As she entered the shop, an old woman demon looking passably elegant fainted in the first alley. What seems to be her son took her out for fresh air, leaving Brownie the only customer in the boutique. With a quick glance, she found out the incense and started to look for the holy venom. Where is it? Where is it? Her hands were shaking, but finally found it and walked to the counter. "Are you trying to scare my customers? You stink!" The witch behind the counter wasn't the most polite, but Brownie didn't expect her to be following the circumstances. She put the incense on the counter. "Just arriving from a boat," she said with the weirdest accent she could manage to hide the trembling of her voice. "Leaving tonight." "I hope sooner," the witch answered. Brownie noticed some stone near the counter, grabbed an aquamarine and put it down on the counter. "There's nothing you can do with those 2 together," the witch said. Nothing you know of, Brownie answered, finding traits she couldn't have ever thought she capable of. She paid for the items, dug them into the only pocket of her coat free from fish pieces, and went out of the shop as fast as she could. Brownie looked up at the end of the path. She was almost there. She was walking carefully, trying not to enter a collision with drunken demons going out of the bars. The way until the end of the street was looking so terribly long. She finally reached it without problem and started to run through the city center without a look backward. She stopped out of breath halfway before her house and noticed that she was still clenching her fist around the aquamarine stone in her pocket. She took it out to look at it. The stone was full of reflect in the early sun, and it was looking like ocean water, maybe more brilliant and transparent. She wondered why she had bought it. She had just felt a sudden urge to hold it. It will make a nice pendant that I can wear as soon as I don't smell like dead fish anymore, she thought. She started to laugh with relief, her nerves suddenly giving up their stress. She reached home faster than expected. The way back was always the shortest. She left the fish pieces in a large bin outside. The smell was not as strong anymore when she passed the front door, but she needed a good shower and to put her clothes in the washing machine as soon as possible. As she reached the corridor on the second floor leading to her bedroom, Viorel and Dylan were waiting for her in the dark corner. "See, I told you she was going to be okay." For all answer, Viorel slapped the back of Dylan's head. "Just give it back to me, and go do whatever you want," Dylan said to Brownie, rubbing the back of his head. "What are you talking about?" Brownie opened her bedroom door, leaving some ray of sunshine emerging in the corridor. Dylan's medallion having completely stepped out of her mind. Dylan jumped aside. "Hey, be careful with that!" Viorel stepped in the light. "It's in your left pocket." He dug his hand in her pocket, got the medallion out of it, and started to look at it very carefully. "Very interesting indeed." "Oh, that was pretty useless, but thanks anyway." Brownie was about to enter her bedroom as Dylan started to laugh. "More efficient than the fish, I suppose?" Viorel had turned back, unable to bear the smell anymore, his vampire power making him very sensitive to it. "What do you mean?" Brownie asked, taken aback. If Dylan was always considered to be funny and ignorant, Viorel, at the contrary, was like the living encyclopedia of the night world and magic. "That makes you invisible to demons, I suppose," he said, walking away, turning the medallion in his hand. Hearing that, Brownie jumped on Dylan, punching him with both fists. "You knew it! You knew it, and you told me to cut the fish!" She was yelling at him furiously. Dylan started to laugh more. "Get away from me, you stinky thing!" Brownie continued to punch him on the chest without any result. He seemed to enjoy himself a lot. "You're just so horrible! How could you? How could you? He still saved your life!" This word had the immediate effect to calm Brownie down. Viorel had turned back to look at them from the end of the corridor. "Don't you try anything that foolish ever again on your own, or I'll make sure it's the last time." He disappeared, and Dylan rushed after him in the corridor, avoiding the sunlight. "Thanks," Brownie whispered, looking ashamed. "My pleasure." Dylan winked at her before disappearing as well, following Viorel. Brownie put the incense and the aquamarine stone in a drawer, then entered the bathroom to get rid of her clothes. She started the shower and looked at herself in the mirror, waiting for the water to warm up. One good thing done. She suddenly felt like she could sleep forever. Getting the rest of the list later, in this afternoon, would be easier. The warm water sliding softly on her skin and the noise of the shower in her ear were making her feel better. Even while being careful with the fish pieces, they still had found the way to creep themselves everywhere, and it took her a long half-hour and multiple attempts to shampoo before taking away the blood and flesh stuck in her hair. She passed on her pyjama before putting the clothes in the washing machine and set the program to run straight away. The nice smell of the shower gel and shampoo had invaded her bedroom, covering the disgusting smell of her clothes. She lay down on the bed, looking at the aquamarine reflecting the soft beam in her hand. Waiting for the human shop to open, she fell asleep. The morning sleep had always been more restful than sleeping at night, as if the sunlight could push the darkness of her dream in the corner of her mind. Noises in the kitchen downstairs woke her up with a sudden burst. She looked at the alarm clock and started to panic. It was noon already. How could she have slept so long? She dressed up in a hurry, feeling the sudden need to eat something, and ran down to the kitchen. People were getting busy with setting the table. "Hey, Sleeping Beauty! You're just in time. Itomi and I were planning on shopping this afternoon. You want to join us?" Grenadine asked, completely unaware of Brownie's busy morning. "Of course, you know I'm always up for shopping." Brownie set some plates from Grenadine's hand and spread them down on the table. "There are a few things I need." "We were not really planning to go shopping for clothes," Itomi said quickly. "More the bookshop." "And the painting shop," Grenadine added. Brownie was a lot into fashion, and never liked to design her own clothes during her free time. "I see. I wanted to buy some candles for my room. I used most of them last week, but we can always split and meet in the center once we're done." "Oh, I wanted to go to the new shop for ages," Grenadine said. Itomi giggled. This new shop had already been open for 3 months, but each time Grenadine wanted to go there, she always ended up spending all her money for color pencil, paint, and sketch notebooks. She pushed Grenadine with her elbow. "This time we're going to go there first. I love that shop," she said. Malena pulled Itomi's trousers. "Can I come too? I want to see the candles too." Itomi and Grenadine looked understandingly at each other. "Not this time. It will be a really long walk, and you'll be too tired. You'll join next time." Itomi walked quickly to the cupboard to get some glasses out, while Grenadine started to get forks from the drawer, making as much noise as possible to avoid Malena. Going shopping was the only way for them to get rid of their little siblings for some times, and it was out of question to be trailing Malena behind and having her complain and asking when they were coming back home. Malena put it. "You always say that I can come next time, but you never let me." Brownie crouched to make the size of the little girl. "What about you tell me the color or smell of your candle, and I bring one for you?" Malena was one of the calmer children in the house, only thinking about dancing and ballet, and Brownie saw that she surely needed to be rewarded from time to time. "Really?" The eyes of the little girl brightened. "Sure, tell me." Brownie smiled, and Malena gave her a hug and whispered in her ear, "Can I have a blue one, and one that smells vanilla?" Brownie nodded and winked at her before going back to setting the table. The afternoon shopping started under a very bright sky. The new shop was called Magic Fragrance, and Brownie never doubted a second that she would be able to find all the incense and candles specified on their list. She quickly found everything and started to join her sister, looking around to discover something unexpected. "Wow!" Grenadine said. "Look, that stone is so pretty!" She was holding a small orange stone in her hand. For some strange reason, Brownie felt that stones in this shop were less alive than the one in the Dark Path shop. But she didn't bother sharing the thought, and took a blue vanilla candle on the next shelf. "I thought you had everything you needed already," Grenadine said. That one is for Malena." "You are really going to get her one?" Grenadine opened big, incredulous eyes. "How do you manage to get all this money?" Itomi took her by the shoulder. "She's not spending it all on paint every week." "Are you taking it?" Grenadine looked at the stone and put it back. "I can't. I need to get orange paint for Jaden. I use all of these again." Itomi giggled. "You'll never learn." She took a pretty-looking green stone with some white pot in the middle. "I'll take that one. It's too pretty to stay here." Grenadine threw her an envious look as they walked to the counter. "Go get yours, I'll pay for you, and you'll give me the money back later," Itomi said. "I'm in a nice mood today, but don't expect it to be like that all the time." "You're the bestest ever!" Grenadine kissed her cheek and ran to get her stone. "Don't you want one?" Itomi asked Brownie. "No, I'm fine." Brownie smiled, thinking of the lively aquamarine in her desk drawer. The rest of the afternoon vanished quickly. Itomi got her books and Grenadine her paint. Brownie was still in a rush to get home, and to start preparing the spell, but couldn't find an excuse to leave her sister finish the shopping on their own. She planned on doing it tonight. As they were passing in front of the grocery shop, on the way back, Hitomi paused. "I need to go to the grocery," she said. "May ask me to bring back some spice." Brownie realized that she didn't check if she could find all she needed at home. It would be safer to buy it. Yusul couldn't wait any longer for sure. Every minute that passed was tearing her heart apart. "Okay, I need some stuff too," she said. "Really? Are you planning on cooking something tasty?" Grenadine was always the last to cook, but the first to jump on other people's culinary experiment. "Maybe later on this week," Brownie lied. No one needed to know that she was going to do magic tonight and would involve too many questions. "What exactly? A main dish or a cake?" Grenadine was looking curiously at the sweet tooth, at the food piling up in Brownie's basket. "Something special and surprising with apple," Brownie said, adding an apple. "Okay, I'm ready." "Don't you need more? One apple, that's like the snack I could use just now," Grenadine laughed. "I'm ready too," Hitomi said, emerging from the next row with a bag of fresh basil. They paid for the food and walked out. Grenadine grabbed the apple in Brownie's bag and prepared to bite it. "Hey, give me that!" Brownie said, catching the apple in extremis and putting it back carefully in her bag. "But I'm hungry," Grenadine said. "You should have kept money to buy food then," Hitomi said, throwing her an incredulous look. "We're almost home anyway." "What's so wrong about that? It's just an apple." "But it's my apple, and if I bought it, it's because I probably need it, don't you think? If you want one that bad, you should have taken it for yourself." Brownie answered frenetically. That was on the list, and at that moment, this only made that precise apple more important than anything. "Okay, all right, keep it." Grenadine started to walk ahead of them, playing with her stone. Hitomi shook her head, looking at her. Arrived at home, Brownie rushed to her bedroom to get the incense, and then straight to the library to verify in the books that nothing was missing. She was so feverish that she had to do it 3 times before being sure that all was actually here. She hid everything in the secret room. She needed to wait for everybody to go to bed before starting anything, just in case someone came to look for her. The time was slow, killing her. If she couldn't imagine how painful it was for Yusul, thinking about it, she could feel it through her bone. Cold despair, the sensation of being abandoned, that nobody in the world or another cared for you anymore. The sensation of being alone forever, with the time being so slow that a single minute seems like an hour and drove you crazy. The same sensation as in her nightmare. It had to work. This time it had to. She went back slowly to the living room. Children were playing in every corner. It was still a busy day, as usual. Mikala was playing the piano with Minho, Mark was playing with his turtle. But Brownie was too far in her soul to participate to the ambient excitement. Malena stopped playing and came to see her. "Don't look so sad. I know you forgot my candle. Grenadine told me, but it doesn't matter that much. Don't be sad because of me." Malena was looking at her deeply, waiting for her to smile, and Brownie smiled, digging her hand in her bag, and took the candle out. "You got it?" Malena started to dance of excitement. "Of course I did." "Thank you, thank you, thank you." She gave Brownie a big hug and took the candle. "It's so beautiful. It's my first candle ever. Don't let it burn when you're on your own. Don't let it burn with anything close to it, and don't let it burn all at once, okay?" Brownie said. "I'll ask Tam to come with me," Malena said, unable to stop looking at her candle. "That's a very good idea." Brownie smiled more, looking at Malena, who was running to show her candle to everybody. These children were really happy with nothing. She wondered if she ever had been sad innocent. Probably she had, a very long time ago. Before life became so painful, she probably had been. After dinner, a bit anxious, she walked to the library once more. The time had finally come. She knew that whatever the result might be, this would be her last attempt. Never again would she find anything more powerful. She sat on the wooden floor and started to calm down by concentrating on her breath. Magic was all about concentration and visualization. After a few minutes, her hands stopped shaking. She read the preparation once more, and drew the pentacle with thick white chalk line. That wasn't an easy thing, but she had attempted so many times during the past few weeks that she had become very good at it. As specified, the upper branch of the star was pointing to the north. She sat out of the circle, took a knife, and cut down the apple in half, separating the core in two horizontally. She placed a bay leaf in between the two halves, and placed the apple at the top of the upper branch, visualizing the closure of the north door. The apple was supposed to keep the evil spirit from crossing over the door during the ritual. Calling a soul from the demon world, it would probably be more than necessary. She lighted on the two white candles and placed them at the top of the two branches near the apple. The white candles were here used as a way of seeking the truth. It was a way of making sure she would recall the right soul. She then lighted on two of the purple candles and placed them on the tip of the two remaining branches of the pentacle. The purple candles symbolized the psychic and spiritual power. They were also wearing the color of success. She started the first incense stick with a white candle on her left, and turned it around the pentacle counterclockwise, concentrating on the light and white smoke before putting it in the incense burner. The smell of coconut invaded the room, protecting and purifying the circle. She then started the cinnamon incense stick on the purple candle on her left, turned it slowly counterclockwise around the pentacle again, concentrating deeply on the smoke. The soft smell of cinnamon joined the coconuts, intensifying the chances of success. She took the holy banana stick and started it on the purple candle on her right. She made it turn twice counterclockwise around the pentacle and once clockwise. The holy banana was the incense of fire. It was present to protect the soul from the burning inner fire. That's why it was so important. It prepared the soul's receptacle. The last stick was not less important. The patchouli was the only thing that would forbid the soul to turn back during the spell. She started it on the last candle and made it turn around the pentacle 3 times, 2 clockwise and 1 counterclockwise. The room was now filled with the incense smell, burning slowly in the incense burner. The smoke rising straight to the ceiling was a favorable omen for the rest of the ritual. Now that the preliminary preparations were achieved, she took few moments to concentrate and visualize the soul being here with her before continuing the rest of the ritual. There was no need to precipitate. At the contrary, she needed to be precise. The deeper she would put herself in the magic spirit, the more chance she had to retrieve the soul. She lighted the last purple candle and turned it twice around the pentacle. She placed it in front of her and started to mix the other ingredient in a bowl. Slowly, 3 times, she added the purple candle wax to the preparation. As she mixed it, she could feel the world close up around her. Nothing existed out of the purpose of the ritual. She was like locked in a deep blue bubble all around her. Once the preparation was ready, she placed the candle in the middle of the pentacle and raised the bowl in front of her above her head, as high as she comfortably could. That was the offering to the night spirits who would recall the soul. In this position, she started to call it again, and then she put the bowl in the middle of the pentacle, near the candle, and started to wait, concentrating all her hope and desire into the flame of the burning candle. She waited and waited, concentrating to despair, when suddenly an icy wind penetrated the room, freezing her to the bone, switching off the candle and erasing the pentacle. She didn't dare to move. She continued to concentrate on the extinguished flame of the purple candle, refusing to believe it was all over, and refusing to give up. The icy wind was turning furiously in the room, and suddenly blue flame emerged from the ground on the erased pentacle lines, in front of Brownie, incredulous eyes. Never any other spell had had such a violent reaction. Never any other spell had had any sort of reaction. She was just a human without inner magic, after all. The flame of the wind and the wind disappeared, as suddenly as they had arrived, leaving a little baby boy standing in the middle of what was the old pentacle. He looked absolutely terrorized. with silent tears streaming on his cheek. For 1 second, Brownie saw that she was dreaming, and for 1 second it seemed to her that a bright purple light had appeared in the baby's eyes. He raised his arm to her, about to fall, and she picked him up quickly and held him tight against her heart, cradling him and trying to give him some warmth. She didn't realize what had just happened. She couldn't think about anything. Her head was completely empty. All she knew was that this child was no more important than anything to her. And she was trying to comfort him. She didn't see the dark shadow disappear in the library through the secret door. That's it for today. So Brownie's got a baby and there is a dark shadow running around, and well, isn't it getting exciting? I wonder. So just let me know what you think about it, and don't forget to get the book if you like it. And see you next week. Bye!